Hello everyone, and welcome back to my craft room and my YouTube channel, Kathy's Random Acts of Stampin'. I'm so happy that you're here, and we are going to make a beautiful fall card. Y'all know that I am totally in love with this All About Autumn paper. It is absolutely the most stunning pack of paper that I think Stampin' Up! Has had out to date. Every piece is gorgeous. You have a beautiful scenery on one side, and then you have this beautiful foils on the other side, and every piece is absolutely stunning. So if you don't like one side, you're definitely going to love the other. I mean, look at that. Look at that moody mauve with the gold, and the scenery. I mean, the scenery on this paper is just stunning. And you have some wood grain because, you know, everybody loves that. But look on the back side. You got that gold foil mauve. This right here is stunning. This looks like it looks like the top of the trees. But if you don't like that, look at that beautiful gold you have on the back. I love this pack of paper. Look at this piece. It almost looks like corduroy. But on the back, look at that. It is stunning. I mean, just, y'all seen me goo and gaw over this paper before, so I'm not going to do too much of that right now. But I do want you to know that it is a beautiful pack of paper. There is a tufted sofa or chair, or maybe even an ottoman. But look at the back. Oh, so pretty. So anyway, enough about that. Let me go ahead and get on with what I want to show you today. And we are using some of this paper, and you can choose and change up your pattern however you see fit. But I do want to tell you, you don't want to miss out on this paper. So grab it while it's available. I need to check and see if it's still on back order. It was on back order because it was very popular, and I can understand that. But I'm also going to be using the Autumn Leaves bundle with this. And we're going to use some colors that I have not embraced too much recently. And that's the Pebbled Path. These are our in colors, and these colors didn't speak to me, but I'm going to show you today that we can use these just by adding some other pretty colors to them. It really does accentuate them. Now we're going to use that as our card base, and yes, it is opening a little different than what most of my cards do. It's going to be a top open card rather than a side. I have a piece of Harvest. That's not what it's called. It is called Wild Wheat. It reminds me of the old Harvest Gold that we used to have way back in the day, and I'm sure that I'm aging myself by saying that. So you're going to cut two of these, and these are cut at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Little different cutting dimensions, but this is going to work for us. The other pieces that we're going to cut, we're going to have a piece of Very Vanilla, and we're going to need to cut this. We're going to need to cut a piece 4 1/2 by 3 3/4. And I'm going to show you how I did this. I'm going to bring my trimmer up. I think you're going to love this card. So we're going to cut this piece at 4 1/2. Let's do 3 3/4 first. 3 3/4 by 4 1/2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to angle cut this. So line it up into the track of your trimmer and hold it with one finger, and then rotate the other end until it lines up perfectly. And I like to take my blade and bring, oops, I moved it. Hold it really nice and still, and then bring your blade over and sink your blade in the middle, and then cut up and down. And that's going to give you two triangles that we're going to use on this piece. Now, I am going to tell you, this piece needs to be a bit smaller. Okay, that didn't quite work. Let me figure out what I did wrong. So 3 3/4 All right, what we're going to do, we're going to take off, after you cut that, we're going to take off a 1/2 inch. And I think that will give us take a 1/2 inch off of that, and then this will fit on here, and we need to come a little bit over just a tiny bit more, so I'm going to go about 1/8 of an inch. Sometimes it's hard to get those angles exactly like you want them, but that's going to work right there. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut this to where the bottom of this piece measures 3 3/4, and your side piece is going to measure 3 1/4. So once you get that piece cut, that is going to be your piece that's going to go right here on the bottom of your card, just like that. Then you're going to need to do the same thing with a piece of that beautiful designer series paper. This is the piece that had the bookshelves on it, and that piece is going to go right up here to the top here. And you want to run it all the way up to the top like that. Now I have some temporary adhesive on this because when I laid it out, I wanted to make sure that I was getting my pieces exactly where I wanted them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lay these pieces down. Oh, I dropped my trimmer. That was not a good thing. Let's see if I can sit him right there. Also dropped a piece of my paper. All right, I'm going to grab my Stampin' Seal, or I'll tell you what, let's just use some liquid glue. I'm going to use some liquid glue on here, and I do need to pop off my little piece of, you get a little film on the end of your glue press, and you just pull it off every time. It's sort of like the little, it's just where it seals it. It's self-sealing. So we're going to put this piece to the top, and I'm going to lay that down. I want just a tiny bit of a border, not much, just a tiny bit, and lay that down just like that. Isn't that pretty? And this looks more green on camera than it actually is. I don't know why, but it does. And then I'm going to take the piece of Very Vanilla, and I'm going to put glue on it, and I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to put it down right about there. Now you've got that open in the middle, and I took a piece of this and cut it 1 7/8 inches, and it was even across the top. And then what I did is I positioned it onto my card. I let the ends hang off. So if you're doing this, you know, in real time, you're going to want to, I would suggest use some temporary adhesive if you have it. And I think that's going to hang off just a tiny bit. Let's see how this one's going to work. Like that. I'm going to bring that one up just a little bit. See, that's that temporary adhesive, and it lets me move it. Once I get that where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and commit with some glue on the back of this. And normally you're going to trim these off after you put them on there because they're going to be straight strips. And we're just, when you cut them off, you're going to get this beautiful angle. So I'm going to lay this one down right about like that. And then this one, I'm going to bring it down just a hair, and it's going to lay down about like that, where you've got that little bit of a gap in between. I think this is going to be so pretty, and it doesn't matter if they're not perfectly spaced, and you'll see why in a minute. When we put our beauties over top of it, And yes, I got some beauties already die cut and ready to go on. So I'm going to put that one down right about there. I'm going to let that glue kind of sit up just for a minute. See if I can pull that one up just a hair. There we go. I want to let that sit just for a minute. I'm going to turn it over and see we still have a little bit of an overhang on that one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my long shears, and these are in my craft room favorites located on the PDF and below the video. And I'm just going to cut that off. If you need a long pair of shears for trimming, these are definitely the ones that I highly recommend. They are great scissors. They're serrated and they're also non-stick. So they have a Teflon coating on them. Alright, so we've got that ready. So now we're ready to bring this piece over and put it onto our Pebbled Path cardstock. And look how pretty those pieces play with each other. I think it's gorgeous how this just really does shine through. And I'm actually thinking I'm going to trim just to give this a little bit better look. I'm going to cut another piece of the, I'm going to trim off and just use that as my base. So I'm going to trim all of this off. All the way around. Like that, and then down this side. All this is doing is just evening everything up. Sometimes when we work with angles, it gets a little off. I'm going to cut a larger piece of my wild wheat, and I want this to be 4. I want this to be 4 by, let's measure this. I'm going to do this at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So let me grab my trimmer. I'm going to do my 5 3/8, so 1, 2, and 3. Oh, and I had a little piece stuck in there. I didn't know it. I hit it and I knew it. And I'm going to do this at 4 1/8. This is going to help give us a little bit of a border. And I think this is going to be really pretty on this piece. So now I'm going to lay this down like this, and then this piece on top of that. Isn't that beautiful? Look how well those colors play with each other. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and glue. And I heard a lot of you really picked up one of these glue presses, and you love it as well as I do. I'm going to take this and I'm going to turn my piece sideways. Seems like I do much better at getting my sides even if I can see my top and my sides. So I'm going to bring that down just a hair. And then give that a good press. I'm going to turn it over and use my bone folder just to make sure that glue is all evened out back there. And now we're ready to adhere this onto this. And I'm going to do that right there. And again, I'm going to use my liquid glue. And all of the measurements and everything for this will be in the PDF tutorial, so you don't have to worry about trying to remember what measurements go where. Now make sure that your card is opening in the right area. I want this to be to my top, and then I'm going to lay this down about like so. Give that a good press, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to use my bone folder just to give that a good press and make sure everything is adhered. Now I want another piece of this for my inside, and I want a piece of Very Vanilla, and let me grab a piece out of my scraps. I want a piece of very vanilla to go over top of that for my sentiment. So this is 3 3/4 by 5. So I'm going to cut this at 3 1/2 by 4 1/4. I mean, 3 1/2. We'll get it right in a minute. 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. That's what I was trying to say. It just wasn't coming out quite right, was it? All right. So this will be our little piece that's going to go in the middle for our sentiment. Yeah, and these are a little bit different size mats than I normally use, but I wanted something a little different, and I like that. I like the way it's framed. So what I need to do here is I need to decide what sentiment I want to use. And looking at the stamp set, I think I'm going to use Autumn Teaches Us That Change Can Be Beautiful. And that is what I want to use inside of here. So I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to line this up first, right about there. And I want to do that in the copper clay ink because it's just beautiful, and that's the color I use for my sentiment for the outside. So let's grab a stamp block, and I'm going to pick that up right about there. Give it a good inking, and then I'm going to put this right about here. Love it. And just for a little bit of interest, I'm going to take my 2 little leaves, and I think I'm going to stamp those right there, but I think I'm going to go with the wild wheat. So I'm going to grab another stamp block and just pick those up. And for these, I might even stamp off. Oh yeah, that was very juicy. And stamp on. That's pretty. That's very pretty. And if you wanted to, you could even go a little bit further, and you could do like here and here, and give it kind of a little bit of a collage look. And I like that. I think that really kind of brings it all together, so to speak. So now I'm going to use my liquid glue again, and I'm just going to run a bead around the edges and a little bit in the middle. And then again, I'm going to go in about like this. I'm looking at my top, my sides, and my bottom. And that looks like it needs to go that way, just a hair. And then I'm going to turn that over, give it a press. And there we go. Now we're ready to put this on the inside of our card. Again, a little glue. That looks like a lot of glue, but really it's very fine amount. So don't get concerned and think I went haywire with my glue. I really didn't. Oh, such a pretty card. I love those colors together. All right. When I was getting everything ready for this, I used the die that comes in with the autumn leaf dies, and that's this one right here. And I stamped with a grateful heart in the copper clay, and I had that up on double dimensionals. I also tied a bow using the linen thread, a very loopy bow, and we're going to do that kind of under this, like that. That's why I've got 2 double dimensionals under on each side of that. That's going to go on. But let me show you some of the pretties that I did. I cut these in Old Olive, and I used the dies for all of this that I did. So I cut 3 of these, and that's this one right here, and that's what they look like when you cut them. I cut 3 of the little maple leaf right there, and I cut those using a shimmer paper, and it is the 2023-2025 in color luster specialty paper. And you get a boho blue. You get 2 sheets of each, and they're 2-sided, which means it's the same on both sides. There's a copper clay, there's a moody mauve, there's a pebbled path, and the wild wheat. And I use the copper clay for these leaves, and see how they have a luster to them. They're a little bit more luxurious looking. See the shimmer? This right here I use regular cardstock. This was just old olive cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and slide these pages back in while I have them here. And I was going to use this, but I decided I was going to use this piece, the shimmer, but I decided to go with the regular wild wheat cardstock. And I'm going to show you what I did. I cut a piece of this using this die. Then I used the stamp. I used this stamp, and I stamped that in with the copper clay. Then I went back with my copper clay and I blended very lightly a little copper clay to give that leaf some dimension. So these are going to be our leaves that we're going to use. And what I'm going to do is I want to put down my stems first. So I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue. And I'm going to get just a dab of glue all around. So I'm going to do one about like that. And I'm going to do another one That's the good thing about this glue press. You can get glue pretty much where you want it. I'm going to do one up about like that. And then I'm going to do one more, and you can just give that a press like that. Hopefully that glue will dry clear and we shouldn't have any residue. So I'm just going to get glue all around these little openings that I have here, like that. And I'm going to put this one and lean it up in this direction. Now we're ready to put down our big flower, but before we do that, I want to tuck one of these right about there, and I think I'm going to glue this one straight down. So just a little glue on the back, maybe right about there. And I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this one. I want this one to sit up just a bit. So we're going to put a couple, 3, maybe 4. I'm going to go ahead and pull these off because I want to see exactly where I want to sit this down, and I think right about there would be good. And then I'm going to put another one of these leaves like right about here. So again, I'm just going to put glue down on the bottom edge of it. And I think I'm going to tuck one right up underneath there, about like that. get my glue on good, and then just kind of tuck it like that. Now we have our sentiment and our beautiful little knot, our really fun fun little piece, and I'm going to put that right there, and I'm going to put this over it like that. So I'm going to use a glue dot. I love using my glue dots for putting down bows. So let me grab take your pick tool. This is my favorite way to roll my glue dots into a little ball. And anytime you're using one of these, a little ball works so well. And then we're going to sit this down into that glue dot, kind of crossways like that, so it's, and then that gives us the opportunity to put this across here like that. And I do have double dimensions on this, so I put one set down and then I put another set on top of it to give me that height that I needed to get this over top, just like that. And isn't that pretty? You got that beautiful linen thread up on your leaf hanging off the bottom of your card, and then you've got a beautiful sentiment on the inside. And who would not love to get this card as a happy Thanksgiving card, or even just a card to say that I'm grateful? And you know, you could put something inside that says I'm grateful for our friendship, I'm grateful for having you in my life. There's just so many different things that you could use this beautiful fall card for. I think it turned out lovely. I hope that you did. I hope that you would maybe consider making one of these. And if you need to pick up any of the supplies that I used in making this card, you can click that link below the video, or you can go to my PDF tutorial, and all the information you need will be there, along with a link that will take you directly to my Stampin' Up website. Thanks so much. God bless and keep you. And as I always say in closing, let everything that you do and say bring glory to our Father in heaven. He is worthy. Until next time, take care. Love you. Bye-bye.